Welcome to Yakima Southwest Rotary, the
most prosperous club in the world.
All right, we have Mr. Beckett for invocation. Give him a round warm of applause.
Thank you, everybody. If you would bow your heads with me, please. Lord in heaven, we are so grateful for the people that are gathered in this room. We are so grateful for our friends and fellow Rotarians. I pray specifically for the health and safety of the people who are gathered here today, and I pray specifically for the health of Danny Knutson as she recovers at Memorial. We keep her in our thoughts and prayers, and we pray that you would provide healing, energy, and hope for her and her family. God, we ask that you would continue to bless and inspire us as we serve your children here and around the world. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Ryan. All right, next we have our introduction of guests. So visiting guests today, we have David McKinney of Downtown Rotary. Welcome, David. I understand we have an honorary up-and-comer Rotarian. Duke McKinney is here visiting us as well. Are you checking out our club today, Duke? Maybe? All right, welcome. Any other guests that slipped in that I wasn't aware of? Okay. All right, so with that, I'm going to ask Renee if you would come up and do our introduction with Megan.
Awesome. Thank you, President Dirk. Well, I am very excited today because my friend Megan is joining us as an official Southwest Rotarian, so I have a little bit to share about her today. Megan grew up near Denver, Colorado, prior to her family moving to Selah. During her high school years here in the Valley, she participated in Running Start and graduated from Yakima Valley College with her associate's degree at the same time that she graduated from high school. After school, Megan took a year and a half off to figure out what she wanted to be when she grew up and became a personal trainer. This is where she learned that she loved helping people, hearing their stories and watching others achieve their goal. She loves working out because it's like a form of meditation, the opportunity for her brain to be silent. Over the past many years, Megan has had a heart for service and helping others. She's volunteered with organizations like Northwest Harvest, the Yakima Humane Society, and Wags to Riches. A public relations degree in 2018 from Central Washington University led her down a path towards meeting her mentor, Sharon Miracle. Megan was fulfilling an internship position with Sharon at Treetop, and Sharon introduced her to Nicole, managing director and one of the owners at Field Group. Megan was extended a job offer at Field Group shortly thereafter, and she hasn't looked back yet. Technically, Megan is an account manager at Field Group. But for any of us in this room who know what it's like to manage the day-to-day public relations elements of our organizations, she's better known as Chaos Coordinator. Personally, I've had the gift of seeing Megan in action, and she absolutely has a way of getting all the chaos that is marketing, communications, and public image to make sense one way or another. And Megan's favorite part about her job is helping our local nonprofits and seeing their huge impact on our community. And outside of her work, she loves being physically active. Her and her husband, Dan, enjoy running, hiking, backpacking, cycling, going to the gym. This Saturday, if you are at the half marathon at Snoqualmie Valley, you'll see them there. So say hello. Megan and Dan also love spending time with their two cats, Remy, who's the kitten, and Zelda, and their dog Kasai, who really is more like a cat, so kind of three. And she's looking forward to being here with this group of dedicated people in this room and meeting you and hearing your stories. And please join me in welcoming her to the Southwest Rotary.
Thank you.
All right, Megan, I have your badge.
Thank you.
Here's the blue book without the blue book. We'll get you a blue book. And then a new member kit. Welcome to Rotary.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Looking forward to having Megan in our club and her energy. Also, I didn't realize that Renee should probably head up the introduction committee. Great job, Renee. All right, so with that, we've got some club announcements. I just wanted to revisit, last week we announced some of the giving that we did from a grants awards. So last week, the board met last Tuesday. We approved $3,000 for the Ropes Corps at Camp Gormley, $2,000 for First Tee of Central Washington for their kids tournament coming up, $1,500 for the season's performance with their kids and Jads program that they're doing. Voices for Children, $1,000. Trail Seekers of Central Washington, $1,000. And then $200 for Sissy Strong Reyes and the work she's doing down there with missing and murdered Indigenous women and people down there on the reservation. So that was approval from our board last week. Those funds were awarded annually. We award funds going for community service. Oftentimes we'll do community service events like the blanket drive or the meals that we did at Camp Hope. And this was kind of the funds that hadn't gotten spent in other places. So we wanted to make sure we got that to work in our community. Let's see, birthdays. So Jake Butler is just celebrated on the 19th. Riley Wilkinson today on the 20th. Happy birthday, Riley. I'm sure he's watching online. And then Scott Sharp coming up on the 24th. This is kind of the second half. We had a big list of Rotarians in June. So Dusty St. John, thank you for 6 years of service. Claudia Gonzalez, 4 years of service. Lisa, thank you, 3 great years of service to our club. Raquel, 2 years. John, 2 years, thank you. And Renee Coleman, just hitting her first year in. Great job, Renee. Let's see. So there was an email that went out. This is going out mainly to newer members to the club. These are members that have joined somewhere between the last 24 and 36 months, so new members to over the last few years. And we're just kind of doing a new member intro and Southwest Rotary 101 and kind of a Q&A session. Right now we have these set up on June 22nd and July 13th. These two were set up in the morning. We'll look to add some lunch versions. If you ever look at, and I haven't really looked at the calendar much for events, so if you get on Club Runner and you go down and find the calendar, you can see the events. It's got all of our Rotary meetings in there, but it will have these in there as well. So to the older members that don't need the new club intro or Rotary Southwest 101, it is a great opportunity for interested people to learn about. So it could be for prospects to Rotary in our club as well. So just to let you know, you can see that, you can share that. But the next one's coming up on the 22nd, which is, what, is that tomorrow morning? No, that's Thursday morning. Thursday morning? Yeah. All right. Let's see, what else do we got? Oh, hey, we get 2 doses of that. I went backwards. Yep, pushing the arrow the wrong way. This is my second meeting of the year, feels like. All right, we're getting there. Let's see here. Dick Johnson Memorial Blood Drive is on the 23rd. That's this Friday, 9 a.m. to 1:30. The QR code's on our bulletin as well. You can get registered for that. So be sure to get registered. I'm going to be out of town for this, so I won't be there for that one. So we've got the Rotaract has their fundraiser golf tournament. It's the cornhole tournament. Put this in the bulletin. This should be going forward in the bulletin where you can get registered, put a team together. They're raising funds for their scholarship awards that they award to high school scholarships from Rotaract in the community. Molly Davis Golf Tournament is Monday, July 17th at the Country Club. They're always looking for sponsors and participants. The dollars raised here are matched by Molly Davis for the Rotary Trust. It's fundraiser for the year, and it's sponsored by all 3 clubs. Okay, for those that don't know it, if you're in Southwest Rotary, you are a superstar of our club. And so we did kind of bingo earlier this year, throughout the year. And, you know, as being president, you think you're going to do all of these really cool and fun things throughout the year, and then it gets busy. So I've been handing out shirts as you've gotten them, and I've just decided that everybody here is a Southwest Rotary superstar. So if you haven't got a shirt yet, I have a shirt for you over here. You can come see me after the meeting, but I've been handing them out as we've gone along. And even if you're brand new to the club, you get an awesome superstar shirt. So come see me afterwards for that. And with that, do we have any club announcements that anybody would like to share? If not, Martin, go ahead. Thanks, Martin. Yes, go ahead. Who said? Don't be like a real estate agent like Ryan. Update yours more than once every 20 years. No, Ryan's really good about that. So, Lisa, you had a question or announcement. Sorry. Thanks, Lisa. All right, with that, we're going to have Craig Dwight come up, and he'll do our Sergeant at Arms.
Tamerton, while you're back there, would you mind helping us with the raffle? Maybe have little Duke draw the winner. $475. Check your tickets. Oh, now you look at your tickets. See the number?
205916.
5916. Tom over here. Need the cards and sorry, put you on the spot, Tamerton. For 2 weeks. Yeah, we're back there about that time. Yeah. Tom, we didn't. Sorry, buddy. Okay. Any happy bucks? Come on. Yes.
I don't know if I'm happy or sad, but I'm going back into the fresh produce industry. For the last 7 years, I was in the post-harvest chemical business. Most recently, was into their national post-harvest coordinator. That was super interesting. I got to learn about sweet potatoes, and how to store them, and citrus and potatoes. But 7 years ago, I left the job working with Global Fruit in BC, Canada. They're the largest market of fresh BC cherries. It was kind of a melancholy thing. I didn't really like to leave, but it was just too good to stay down in the States. I couldn't get my visa. About 2 months ago, they came back to me and made me a deal I couldn't refuse. So I'm going back in the fresh produce industry. We're going to have the last cherries in the North Hemisphere out of BC, and we've got a big deal going out of Argentina, of all things. We'll have the last fresh cherries in the Southern Hemisphere, and that's going to be our niche in the markets. I haven't been around much. We've been at places like Kroger and Whole Foods and Sprouts and Target, talking up our deal. So going to be a little MIA here for a couple months, but the good news is I'm going to be between Kelowna and Lake Country, BC, and there's a couple Rotaries up there. We might make sure that we represent Yakima there. So anyway, off we go.
Awesome. Awesome.
We got a couple bucks in honor of the speakers last week that had to do with Sacred Road. I think that is a terrific program, and it's been around for quite a while, and really it's not known very much.
Thanks, Corday. Yes.
This is my first Happy Bucks as a new Rotarian. I'm extremely excited to be able to meet everyone and give back to the community. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Happy Bucks. Last week we got to go to Chalice, Idaho. My oldest son ran in the River of No Return. The River of No Return endurance run 108 kilometers, 9 miles through the mountains, 70,000 feet of elevation. Over the course of the run, at some points up to 9,000 feet, and he won.
Dirk.
I don't know if this is my last Rotary meeting in this room as the club president. Next week. I'm gonna give $100.
Whoa, wow. Wow. Any other Happy Bucks? Well, you could have called about Katie winning the... Tell that one, too. Just to let you know, his family runs a lot. I don't know.
My daughter won she set the record.
Yakima Canyon Run. Do you want me to help you out on this? It's your daughter.
Last week I ran like 3 miles.
That's $3 right there. Shameless plugs. No shameless plugs. Cool, we'll continue. We are going to do the dark side of nursery rhymes today. So you have to tell the nursery rhymes, and then you have to say what it means. Now remember, the dark side of nursery rhymes is half truth, half fables, etc., etc. We are going to pick on a few Catholics, though, in here. But it's okay, though. It's okay. So we'll start with this table. You're easy to pick on. So here's the first one. Would you say the 3 blind mice? And what's the meaning of the 3 blind mice?
See how they run, see how they run. They all ran over the, what are the, bicycles, something? Da-da-da-da-da-da-da, 3 blind mice.
So what's that rhyme about?
I thought you were going to ask me pocket full of posies. I know that one.
That's the easy one. That's the easy one.
I don't know. I don't.
You don't know that? Andy, I'll give you a clue. Bloody Mary.
Bloody Mary is the girl I love.
No, it's not a girl you love. No.
I'm a musical girl. Give me some.
Whoa. 3 blind mice.
Blind mice. I think all ran up the farmer's wife. She cut off the tail with a butcher's knife. Am I wrong?
Carving knife.
Yeah.
Okay. But anyway, so what is it about? This was a battle between the Catholics and Protestants in England.
I didn't know that.
And they literally, 3 bishops, Protestant bishops, were killed by Mary. Literally burned to death. A few parts were amputated, and the blindness was caused from her also. Now remember, this is just tales, and this is Mary, Queen of England the First. So, and she was the daughter of
The king.
$3. Henry VIII. Henry VIII.
Henry VIII. Oh, that makes, well, he was crazy. I remember that.
Yeah, and so the daughter would be crazy also. Boy, that was tough. Okay, here's an easy one. For Tamberton's table. I was going to go ring around the rosy, but that's too easy. The mulberry bush. What's that go? Here we go around the mulberry bush. You don't even know the rhyme? You don't even know the rhyme?
Yeah, what's the rhyme? Yeah, sing it. Sing it.
Here we go around the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush. Here we go around the mulberry bush until early in the morning. That's a real simple one.
Yeah, but I don't
So what's that mean?
Yeah, no, don't know. Don't know.
Prisoners.
It has to do with what?
Prisoners.
It does. You don't get a hint from that table. That doesn't count. It's $2, but it basically a 400-year-old women's prison in England. They decided that they had to do exercise. They had to walk around this mulberry bush, so they made this rhyme while they're walking. Can you imagine in the 1700s and actually 1500s women prisons in England? Yeah, not a good time. Corday's table. Mary, Mary, quite contrary.
What are we supposed to do?
Give us the rhyme.
What does it mean?
And then what's it mean?
Mary, Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow, right?
Yeah.
With this up there, and this down there. With cottontails and, yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Silver bells and cockle shells. Okay, now say that again, please.
And we're being contrary.
Oh, yeah. Mary, Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow? With silver bells and cockle shells. And maidens all in a row. And maidens all in a row. What does that mean?
How many maidens are there?
There was close to 100 of them. We're going back to Bloody Mary. We're going back to Bloody Mary. She had 100. Queen Mary had 100 Protestant women killed, guillotined. Okay? These are nursery rhymes. Now, these are nursery rhymes.
The rhymes would take my money.
And cockle shells and silver bells were actually nicknames they gave torture equipment. So she went after, she was very Catholic. Her mom was very Catholic. So you can imagine.
But I don't have any.
So 100 years ago. Okay. We're going to, Okay, we'll combine these two tables. We'll give you an easy one. London bridges, these two tables. London bridges. I'm going to put those two together. These two tables right here. So again.
London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down, my fair lady.
Okay, so what's it about?
Mary, Bloody Mary.
We're not talking about the drink anymore. There's always war in England, but no. There's two versions. One's the Vikings came in and attacked and destroyed and burnt down the bridge. The other one is back in the 1600s.
Bloody Mary.
No, she's not in this one. But for structure of the tower itself, they would bury children. Now, most of the children were murdered or homeless, and some were alive. So this is the little deal with this little poem. is that there are people buried in the foundations of London Bridge to add structure, and the spirits would protect it. $3, $2. These are nursery rhymes. Once again, the Catholics made these. Okay, last one. Last one. These two tables. This is an easy one.
We're at your table too, bud. Frank and I paid this for.
Okay. Humpty Dumpty. This is an easy one.
Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, Humpty Dumpty. What? Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again.
Awesome. What's it mean? Here's the clue. Humpty Dumpty was a nickname for a cannon. Very simple. Basically, they had a cannon on the wall. They were fighting the French, and the French had a bigger cannon and knocked the cannon off the wall, and it shattered, and they couldn't put it together, and they lost that battle. Any questions? I got about 4 pages of this stuff. I only did 5, and I have 12. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Craig. Craig, it's a good reminder. Just because it's online and you found it doesn't mean it's true. Okay.
I said that at the beginning.
Okay. All right. All right. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our speaker. Today we have Amanda McKinney visiting us to speak about the Yakima County. Amanda was raised in rural Oregon along the mighty Columbia, where she was taught to respect the laws of our nation, taking pride in her father's career in law enforcement. He inspired her to obtain dual degrees in pre-law with emphasis in criminal justice and political science, with an emphasis in constitutional law. She is driven to succeed by work ethic instilled by her father, and her father developed by working in She is driven to succeed by work ethic instilled by her father, and further developed by working along harvest seasons on farms that produce cherries, apples, and pears, and Timothy hay. After graduating from college, Amanda spent over 20 years in real estate finance, while also volunteering in her local service club to enhance and improve the agricultural community she calls home. She was nominated to serve in leadership roles for many fundraising efforts and as a board member of several nonprofit organizations with missions close to her heart. In 2020, Amanda became just the second woman elected as Yakima County Commissioner. She was overwhelmingly reelected for her second term and currently holds leadership roles with the Washington State Association of Counties Boards of Directors, Legislative Steering Committees, WSAC representative on the Washington Tax Structure Work Group, and represents WSAC on the Western Interstate Region Board and Rural and Agricultural Affairs Committee of the National Association of Counties. She was nominated by her peers to represent WSAC on the State Health Board and Building Code Council. Amanda is blessed to call her husband, David, her best friend, and she is a proud mother of 2 amazing children, Caitlin and Duke. She has a deep love and appreciation for the agricultural roots of the American West and a strong sense for conservation and preservation of our natural lands in the ways that provide a unified and balanced approach in managing resources for farms, families, and fish. She is committed to bringing vibrant leadership that inspires others to follow their inner voice and find victories in every day. So with that, I'd like to introduce Amanda McKinney.
I think this is the best room almost as good as the best damn club, Sunrise Rotary, of which I will say that I'm a very proud member of nearly 20 years, but this is a family affair, and I always like to make sure that everyone knows that joining Rotary was the best decision that I ever made, and I can say that because I met my dear husband at Rotary. True statement. There we go. Clap for that. I wanted to say that starting off, it's very interesting to hear that when it's a room full of people who know you. It's different when it's people who don't know you, so that was really odd. But I do appreciate that introduction. I had, of course, lots of friends in the room, had been very involved in real estate finance in Yakima, and our family has just been really devoted to Rotary and all the philanthropic endeavors, ways to support nonprofits. Wonderful to hear that you're interested in that. It really brought forward the opportunity to see that there are a lot of organizations that really do things very well, and oftentimes better than government, almost all the times better than government, and really felt that Yakima County could stand to use a little more vibrancy and cutting-edge leadership and maybe bring us into the present. And we had some fantastic commissioners in the past, but I definitely was inspired to bring some early priorities. And the early priorities for me, a lot of folks, all of us in the room, we like to get down on government, and it's easy to say, ugh, it's government. But there are good people who work in government, and they actually touch our lives every day in ways that we don't really fully understand. And it's typically in a way that when we have a problem, when we hear about it, rather than understanding all the good work that is actually done by the good people who actually are your friends and your family and your neighbor. And so I wanted to bring that forward and really think of government as a way of customer service and business. So it starts with transparency and ease of access, effective communication, customer service, team morale, and business management tools, and that is what makes a successful business. And so it began by saying, all right, I've ran a finance company. How do you get the message out? How do you get good reviews? How do you want people to come back and use your service again and talk highly of you? How do you build team morale? Because, by the way, happy employees actually have better production results, which means the customers, you, are going to be happy about that. So rather than getting down on Yakima, how do we lift each other up? And that, I think, was the focus, trying to make sure that the people who worked in our government felt appreciated and valued, that their work was honored, that they felt empowered to do a good job. They would be recognized not only by county commissioners, but by you, and to start talking and walking the walk of good leadership and setting that example. So some of the things that were done right out of the gate. It was really easy for me, and I will say, I have to say that it probably would be a bigger endeavor had it not been for COVID to try to steer large agencies towards using the tools of everyday business, but they were forced to. That was a positive. So right out of the gate, bringing Zoom links so that you can attend easily every single board meeting. Now, most people don't show up to board meetings still by Zoom, but at least it's there. And if it's something that you're interested in, it's recorded and it's labeled and you can go back and watch it. The other thing is that most of the work of county commissioners happened, what we would typically say is behind closed doors. It wasn't actually behind closed doors. Those doors were always open, but none of us actually showed up to the conference room whenever they decided to meet. The calendar was public, but it wasn't necessarily posted online. And so what we do now is our work sessions are Mondays and Fridays from 9 to noon, and there's a Zoom link. And again, it's recorded. And there's an agenda posted at least 24 hours in advance. And all of the documents that we're going to look at and discuss are also there. And if they're edited, you get to see all the edited versions. And so just simply opening up the books, it was always there, but it's that sense of it felt like it was behind closed doors. So eliminating that. So if you want to talk about anything that we've done or you're curious about it, you can go through and search the history, and it will all be there. The other thing is we started an e-newsletter, recognizing that social media is not something that everyone is on. We have a lot of older folks in the community who, they have email and they're happy with that, but they're not really to dive into Facebook and Instagram. Certainly not TikTok. And so we started an e-newsletter that goes out every 2 weeks, and all the commissioners contribute to it, and it's a way for us to highlight some of the things that we've done. Responsive to local news media. Now, this I think is something that's interesting. I was raised in a household where my mother, or my grandmother rather, who helped raise me, she actually was a journalist, and she was very much in favor of freedom of the press, local, local, local. I have a strong passion for that. When we lose local journalism, we lose our stories, and we start focusing on national stories, and national is divisive. We have so many things that we can focus on that bring us together in small communities. We have more in common than we do not. I would prefer that we focus on those. So when local media called me, I was immediately responsive. And in fact, I will give them stories and highlight things. And that make a big difference. And all I hear from them now is that they need a story. Because if you think about it, most of them are very young. They're in our market. They're just starting out. They're trying to figure out what story can I do to make it on 6 o'clock. They're young and hungry, but they don't really know our area. They typically are here for 2 years. So if you can actually help them, they are so thankful. And they will call, and at a moment's notice, I will meet them wherever they are and make sure that they get the clip that they need, because I do believe that that is what allows them to write the stories that you all hope that they're telling about our community. DocuSign. This was an easy one. Holy moly. They were still signing everything wet signature. I aim to spend as little time in that office as possible, and I'm pretty good at it. And that is because of DocuSign. In business, it's been around a long, long time, but it saves so much time. Every document has to have the signatures of the folks who put it forward to the commissioners, all 3 commissioners, our auditor, you name it, and it would take forever. And we still had inter-office mail. People were walking up and down the stairs to gather these signatures, and it would take days and days and days to gather these signatures. No, no, no. That was right out of the gate, first month. I talked about the links to the agenda items, community engagement, very much forward-facing, trying to be out there and actually use those relationships built up over years and years of being in the community, and actually not trying to sit at a desk and wait for people to bring problems to you, but to actually go out and proactively see what people are talking about. Touch it, feel it, understand it. Customer service initiatives were very important, most importantly in our building and permitting. Being involved in real estate, that for me was a high priority, and we'll talk about that at a little bit later, but it was very important that we institute surveys and actually understand and take those surveys and then change and adapt. What can we do to work with stakeholders to make sure that there are issues? They're the ones who are telling us where the issues are, so let's solve it. And actually, let's go ask them how they think we could do better, and then let's do it, and then let's follow up and see if it actually solved the problem before we move on to the next one. Regular visits to departments and employee recognition. I apparently was the first commissioner to actually go out and meet all of the people who worked in Yakima County. That was mind-blowing to me. But for me, if you're a CEO of a company, the very first thing you should do is go introduce yourself to the people that you work for. Because, yes, I do work for them. I work for you. I work for everyone there. My job is to support them and make sure that they have every bit of resources available to do their job to the best of their ability so that you are happy as a taxpayer. They are happy. I am so proud to see the team morale at Yakima County. That doesn't mean there aren't ups and downs, but it is far cry for what it used to be, and especially important because what did we head into? A job market that is excruciating for someone trying to hire right now. It is very hard to get people to stay, to retain employees, and believe me, with few people working where we do need them in government, planning and permitting, prosecuting attorneys, law enforcement, those are vital roles. We need people who feel like they are appreciated in those jobs. Automation and software initiatives, planning and permitting is a prime example as well. In the lending industry, everything has had to be automated. We use software. We've automated underwriting because there are just more people applying for more things, and right now we're doing it with fewer people. It's very clear that we need to take paper out of it. We need to take as much human contact on the paper pushing aspect and automate as much as possible, which is an endeavor that we're still working on, and I'm very pleased to see a lot of these departments automating even further with software. Investing in technology is important. And then investing time to be responsive in real time. My friend Ryan Beckett knows this. In the self-employment world, you don't eat if you don't kill it. And I have that same mentality with responsive to customer complaints is what it is. You've got a concern. And if someone calls me or emails me, I call them back. And I actually do it within a matter of hours. And I am constantly told, I can't believe you actually called me back. I can't believe you actually emailed me. Believe me, that's a low bar for me. But if it's setting a higher bar for the person who comes after, fantastic. It is not unreasonable to get back to someone in a timely manner. People in the business profession do it. Our government electeds can do it as well. I really, really wanted to be the hands-on commissioner. And as I said, I'm very big about posting on social media and trying to get the word out about the ways that we work with our partners and stakeholders in the community. If you are going to make a decision about something that is going to impact someone's lives, you better understand it as much as you possibly can. That is my goal. Understand every facet of the issue as deep as possible before a decision is made. Areas of focus for me, having done the initial priorities, we had changing in the board. We had a new commissioner join. And what often happens is that we restructure and focus. And I had been heavily focused on the business management aspect of things, the finance and budget and criminal justice. And with the leaving of Commissioner Anderson, I was able to take on the role of what my true passion was, which is actually focusing on the fact that we are an agrarian-based county. We are the #1 agrarian producing county out of 39 counties in the state of Washington. We have not focused as much on how agriculture actually contributes to our economy and supporting that as a county government. That was something that I knew needed to change. And so we needed to be incredibly proactive and interact every opportunity we had with our state and federal partners so that we can make sure that we've got all the resources and tools available to our agriculture partners. Mainly then, my role right now is anything that has to do with land, air, and water. Not saying a lot, right? There we go. So let's talk about water really quick. There is the Yakima Basin Integrated Plan, which is something that there are multiple partners from state and federal agencies. It is an absolute privilege to be a part of this group. This sets the example for the rest of the nation. And if anyone has understood or watched the news about the Colorado River Basin right now, then you know that could very well have been the Yakima River Basin had it not been for people much smarter than I about 10 to 15 years ago, recognizing that it was going to be far more effective for everyone if we got out of the courtrooms and stopped spending money suing each other and we actually work together. So we are so interesting and dynamic that when we go to Washington, D.C., we have legislators who literally open doors and bring us, I'm exaggerating, but tea and crumpets, because we're people who typically in other states are fighting each other. And we're walking in one after the other saying, you need to pick my side, not their side. But we're walking in the door together, sitting down all together. That's the Yakima Nation. That's Yakima County. That's our irrigating districts. That's ecology, Bureau of Reclamation, conservation districts, American Rivers, Trout Unlimited. These are not people who get along. But in Yakima County, they do. And it's because we agree that if everyone moves the needle forward for what it is that they're trying to get for their organization or their passion, it's a better win for everyone. Because in the courtroom, we're all losing. And it's taking about 50 years to get to the point where we spend a lot of money and nobody has more water. So how do we create more water? And that is the key. The water is life for us. And in our basin, we are limited basin because we do not take water out of the Columbia River Basin. That's the Columbia River. A lot of people don't understand that, but we are solely dependent upon snowpack and then what we can groundwater storage and surface storage. And one of the ambitions of the Yakima Basin Integrated Plan is to increase surface storage and groundwater storage for both municipal and domestic use, but also for pulse flows to put back in our riverways for fish restoration really quick, much faster than they anticipated. And the snowpack melted more. So all of a sudden, when you see, flooding, what does that mean? All of us ran to our books and went, okay, the flooding is not good, because now we're at a point where we're at 73%. And what that means is junior water right holders, which a lot of our irrigating districts are junior water right holders, are not going to get their fully allocated rights. And that means that there are people who are considering right now, am I going to have a crop that's going to die? And the one thing about Yakima that makes us special is that we do have a lot of tree fruit. And the thing about tree fruit is that you have to water those trees every year, right? That's a heavy investment. It's not hay. It isn't tomatoes or potatoes. It isn't something that you can just say, we'll write it off this year. So it's very critical that we get water on these crops every year. Land. We have some code updates, and that was kind of how I wanted to be extremely proactive for the county. We have changing times, and the wineries, breweries, and distilleries and agritourism code updates was something that I really wanted to tackle right away. Now, we do have a focus on preserving agricultural land, and we want to make sure that our agricultural landowners are not going to be have issues with folks who want to put in wineries nearby, and then all of a sudden the people want to call and complain because you're spraying your trees at the time we want to do our yoga, So there's a way to coexist here, but we actually had not updated our codes since they originally wrote them, which was just identifying tasting rooms. That's it. So how many of you have done the bubbles, How many of you done yoga and the painting and the dogs and the butterfly release? I mean, you name it, we do it. It's amazing. It's awesome. I love it. Guess what? The code doesn't address it. So it's the Wild West out there, and that is not acceptable. We need to have consistency for enforcement so that if a resident or a neighbor has a complaint, we can address it in a consistent manner. So it benefits everyone to be able to actually address what's actually going on rather than pretending it's not going on. So those updates have been ongoing, and we will be having our final hearing soon on that. Big endeavor. Protecting our green spaces. The Growth Management Act, which has a good example just in the news lately, but the Growth Management Act is something that allows us to smartly develop land for housing development in rural areas. So it's something that we are constantly working with at the county. Our East-West Corridor Bridge, that's another huge project. So that's a city-county project along with the State Department of Transportation. We have federal dollars coming in. That's about an $84 million project. And that bridge, believe it or not, is going to start construction here in the next year. You're going to start seeing movement on that. That is But outside of our fire districts, we typically have fire commissioners who have to make a call whether or not they want to respond to a fire because they're wanting to protect the land that it may get to, but there's potential liability there, and that is a concern. So our fire commissioners are wanting us to try to find solutions for them so they can feel like we can resolve those fires and mitigate for them. And that is especially concerning right now when it comes to siting solar and wind complexes way out in no man's land. Because not only do we have already a really nasty track record from state and federal partners for showing up to put those fires out, or if we do to reimburse us, those fires have to be fought with completely different apparatus. It's different than a structure fire. It's different than forest. It's different than wildland. And that is something that I've been very vocal about pointing out because we do not want to have those things catch fire. The Horse Heaven Hills right now are on fire, and that is exactly where there is a massive, massive wind and solar project that's been proposed. So we need to be smart about that. Accessory dwelling units. So we can talk about affordable housing. One of the ways that I saw that Yakima County could actually help was to update our accessory dwelling codes. So it's not only, the government doesn't need to be the one building everything necessarily, but what can we do strategically to make it easier and more cost effective for people to build these things in the private sector? So we're updating our ADUs so that it is easier for folks to, and when I say easier, the number one issue that comes to me, hands down, dust on county roads, not even a contest. People like to talk about the dust on the county roads. It is our job. Unfortunately, we have a little under 1,000 miles of dirt roads to maintain, and the sloshy stuff that we put down there to try to keep the dust down is very expensive, and we don't have enough money to go around to do it. But it is something that is still a responsibility, and as well as I should have put bridges. We are responsible for over 500 bridge spans in our county, and as you can imagine, there's a lot of and I have talked quite a bit about that, especially those are restricted funds. However, being smart, you have to think around, and someone much smarter than I, previous to me, had decided that rather than just giving out seed funds as free grants, they determined to go ahead and make half of it a loan. And what happened with that, it was quite brilliant, is that the loan, the interest from the loan was actually the county's, and so it doesn't have the same restrictions. And so that is one of actually the areas that I'm looking at for if there's a need out in the community. The interest funds don't come with that same allocation restriction, and it happens to be something that I'm considering to try and work on for a long-term sustainable funding for future flight expansion. Yes, were you going to answer what I do in my free time? It doesn't exist.
I think during Schneider Springs, you discovered, as I recall, that Yakima County could apply for reimbursement, hospital reimbursement.
Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you. Yes.
Questions about that.
So
Unfound money that you discovered and brought into the county based on just asking.
let me just say, elect bankers. Just get bankers into them because we will sniff out the fraud. We will find the money where it is. But so the Schneider Springs fire specifically, by finding out by my involvement with the land and water use issues, the fire absolutely impacted our watershed. And there was actually funding that we were able to apply for and get over $2 million for restoration of the watershed. We were also able to get money for not only writing a new plan, but the implementation, which is important. During COVID, of course, we had the housing and homeless rental assistance dollars. Our department that usually did about $3 million in rental assistance over 2 years did $48 million in 2 years. And when that came, it also came with a little note from the state and the federal government saying, we're also waiving all the normal requirements that we look for fraud and duplicate applications. And as a banker, I said, no, Yakima County, we're not going to do it that way. And what ended up happening is that we were able to stop $6.5 million of fraudulent applications that would have gone out if we had not done very, very basic. I'm talking about, do they have the same address? But it's important because those dollars needed to go to the people who truly needed it. And that's the point. So, yes, sir.
Could you give us a little update on the Yakima Basin plan as far as the water storage?
Yes. So we had really pinned the hopes on most recently Weimar, which was going to be a larger water storage for potentially domestic and municipal supply. That was up in the canyon. Unfortunately, that is not going forward. We did, however, purchase Springwood Ranch. If anyone has driven through it, and we've all driven by there, what am I talking about? Okay, but down across where you see the beautiful sign that needs to be repainted, Springwood Ranch has actually been now acquired, and this is a beautiful example of partnerships. The land trust, a conservation, land conservation entity actually purchased it on a handshake and a goodwill, good faith commitment from the members of YBIP that we were going to actually get state funding to reimburse them so that they could convey the rights over to the partners of the Yakima Basin Integrated Plan, and it will be used for pulse flows. It will help us to show that we're mitigating water, hopefully to open up more water rights for irrigated use. It will allow for some industrial use for the county, which they're a very small footprint of where they actually can conduct business. There will be conservation efforts. There will be river and shoreline and riparian area restoration and conservation. The land will be held in trust in some cases in perpetuity. Wild forest fire management. I mean, it's a huge deal. So that is a plus. But going back to the storage issue, that's why I'm here, because that is the part of the story that has yet to be written in finality. And so right now, the Bureau of Reclamation has decided to look at smaller scale storage and they're presently doing studies and looking for input on where people have, I mean, we're talking about 300 square feet. It doesn't matter. We're just looking for where can we have water storage, surface storage, and then the groundwater storage analysis is being done and headed up by the Yakima Nation's hydrologist experts, and we're working with that as well for groundwater aquifer recharge. Yes, sir.
So I farm on the Rosa, so.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
So number one, why is Weimer done?
Yeah.
Number two then is why are we not going the length of Rattlesnake Ridge all the way into Benton County, because they're part of the Yakima River Basin, and putting in these small storages aggressively, especially with the infrastructure dollars that are there?
Aggressively and assertively are my favorite words. So the latter part of what you mentioned is what we're definitely pursuing. The larger scale, the Weimer, what you ended up happening, it's family owned. It's their own property. You had a patriarch who had committed to it. The gentleman passed away. The family, it's family. You know, they have to convene and decide what's best for their family. I will say that there are, imagine this, competing theories, even with folks who work in large departments like the State Department of Ecology. So we actually have a Office of Columbia River, which manages water resources, basically central and eastern Washington, which is separate from ecology, who says all the other, you know, do you have a water right, blah, blah, blah. And I will say that there's not agreement between ecology. I think that it's fair to say that there were probably some things that the Office of Columbia River probably wished that ecology could have found a way around to make it happen, but it didn't happen. Well, and I think this great example of how one of the things is that when the Office of Columbia River was created, they did not have legislative authority to actually buy land. So it actually took truly legislative action to actually give them the legal statutory approval to go and purchase land. And that took, I think, 7 years. I mean, it was kind of, you know, that was not Chris's fault, by the way. But yeah. Yeah, yeah. So, but that, I mean, as you said, I mean, proactive, assertive, aggressive, all the things. With a smile, though, customer service, that's important. But no, things can be very slow moving, and in some cases, that's good. But in the case of surface storage and groundwater storage, it's long overdue. In fact, the clock is ticking on our integrated plan commitment, to your point. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Speaking of clocks ticking, Amanda, thank you for coming today and your update on the county. I'm so grateful that we have you as a county commissioner. You're doing an amazing job. If you have other questions, take a picture of the screen. Amanda would love to hear from what your questions are. But thank you very much for all you're doing. Thank you. So with that, I want to thank, Corday and Tim as our greeters. Ryan, for your invocation. I didn't update that. Craig, thank you for your Sergeant of Arms. And Amanda, again, for being our speaker. With that, our meeting's adjourned. Meeting at the Seasons Performance Hall.